What's up, everybody? Teague from Battle City Games, back with another post-Battles of Legend deck profile. Today we're taking a look at Dragonmaid. Similar to Orchist and Punk, this deck also received 2 additional cards of support in this set. And similar to those, these are cards that are immediately impactful to how we build the deck and increase what it can do ceiling-wise, setting up a better inboard, and having more resiliency. So it's really nice to see decks getting support that actually impacts how they're played and brings them back into meta relevance after several years of kind of being on the back burner. Today we are playing a Bystial variant of the deck. That's what I'm going to be profiling for y'all. I really like what the Bystials can do in the current format. The fact that they do hit decks like Orchist and Mitsurugi so well, and also have that nice synergy with Dragonmaids with the Dragon typing. So that's the build I've decided to go with. But let me know in the comments if you think that's the best way to build the deck right now, or if you prefer the Dragon Ruler variant, or maybe the Tenpai, or some other variant entirely. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the deck profile. So, starting off, we do have triple copies of Kitchen Dragonmaid. This is a card that wasn't previously a starter for the deck, but now with Lady's Dragonmaid in the extra deck, Kitchen can search the dragon form of herself, immediately discard it, and that sets up your Lady Dragonmaid summoning condition, which is great, and allows us to have more starters than the deck did previously for trying to go full combo. So 3 copies of Kitchen Dragonmaid. Similarly, we have triple copies of Parlor. Parlor can send the dragon form of herself to graveyard on summon in order to search your, or set up your Lady's Dragonmaid, but she can also always send any other Dragonmaid cards. So if you already have Lady's Dragonmaid further into the game, you can send something like a changeover in order to be able to grab it back to hand from grave if you want to. So Parlor is nice for the versatility that she offers for that reason. But again, great to have the starter. So that's why we're on 3 copies. And for the last Dragonmaid starter, triple copies of Chamber. Personally, I like Kitchen and Parlor as starters more than Chamber now because they're able to set up Ladies. Ladies can summon Chamber from deck. And then because you already have Lady set up, you can use Chamber to search Tidying, which is great. But, of course, you can always start with Chamber to grab Hospitality, link Chamber off, use Hospitality to revive Chamber, and then dump the new dragon form of Chamber, which we'll be going over in a moment, and then link your Chamber and your link monster off into a Seals, and then summon your Lady by banishing from the graveyard. So Chamber is still full combo by herself. She's just not my preferred way to get into full combo now. That's it for the Dragonmaid starters. Moving into the dragon forms, we have 1 copy of Tinkhek. This is why Kitchen is a starter, because you can search Tinkhek, discard it, and give you that access to Lady immediately. Similarly, we do have triple copies of, 1 copy of Lorpar to go with our triple copies of Parlor. Just the ability for Lorpar to be dumped off of Parlor and set up that combo, is great. And then the brand new Dragonmaid card, 1 copy of Kimbra. Finally, Chamber has a dragon form, which means that we can activate Hospitality and then send this off of Hospitality, which is why Chamber is also full combo into Ladies. And this card does have applications. It does actually have an effect that we do want to use if we draw it. So on field, it does prevent your Dragon Fusion monsters from being destroyed by card effect. So it provides you a little bit of insulation from board breakers if you do end up with her on board. And then she does have an in-hand effect to discard herself and then special summon a Dragonmaid monster from your graveyard, which is great for the late game. Being able to recur something like a Lady is always nice. She's not a starter, though. It'd be really nice if she discarded herself to search a Dragonmaid monster, but they decided not to go that route. And since she's not a starter, we're still only going to play 1 copy, because we don't ever want to break on our larger dragon form Dragonmaids. That wraps it up for the Dragonmaid cards. Moving into the Bystials. We have triple copies of a Bystial Lubellion. This is going to get us into our other Bystials, as well as setting up our Branded Regained. This is a card we want to open. Typically, we're probably going to lead with our Bystial cards before our Dragonmaid cards, because we would certainly rather get Ashed on a Lubellion than we would on the summon of a Kitchen, a Parlor, or a Chamber, for example. But we do want to see this card as often as possible in our opening hand, which is why we're on 3 copies. Then for our other Bystials, we have 1 Magnemite, 1 Druisworm, and 1 Baldrake. Magnemite and Druisworm are limited. That's obviously why they're only at 1 copy. Baldrake I like, because if you do set up a board with like a Seals, and then you have Baldrake in hand, you can summon out the Baldrake on your opponent's turn. Seals can bounce into something like a Chamber to search Hospitality for follow-up, and then you can use the Baldrake to tribute off the Chamber for its Disruption ability as well. So there is some nice synergy there. But just 1 copy of each, since they are extremely recurable, thanks to Branded Regained. Moving into the hand traps, we do have triple copies of Fuelos. I think every deck should be playing some amount of Mulcharmies, and I think Fuelos is the best in the current format based on the top decks we're seeing. Again, if the format shifts, or maybe if your local environment is different, you might want to play around with the Mulcharmies that you're main decking, but I think Fuelos is the most well-rounded for the current format. For some other Mulcharmies, we do have double Perulia. This is probably the one I would swap out before Fuelos. If you're in a Malice, Orcust, or Mitsurugi, a little bit less than Mitsurugi, but definitely Malice or Orcust heavy local area or regional area, you could swap the Perulia out for Meows. Then for the other hand traps, we do have triple copies of Droll and Lockbird. This is a power hand trap that stops our opponent from playing the game. It's great against top meta decks like Ryzeal and Mitsurugi, and it also hits a good variety of tier 2 or rogue decks. Stuff like Mermail can just get completely shut down by Droll and Lockbird, and I think those 2 things together make it worth main decking a card like this. Yes, it's not as strong into Orcust or Malice, but we can always side it out for games 2 and 3 in those matchups. And then we do have triple copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Ash Blossom has always been a very versatile hand trap. It hits every deck somewhere, at least, especially with Orcust coming into the format. Being able to Ash Blossom a Girsu sending from deck, or a Harp Horror summoning from deck can be very impactful. So I do like 3 copies. And then for the last 2 hand traps, Nibiru. This is just to punish our opponent for playing into a Charmy, drawing into Nibiru when your opponent's trying to go combo. Not only are they giving you additional cards, but then you punish them with a Nibiru, forcing them to end all no board, or at best maybe like a half board. So Nibiru can still be very impactful, especially for those opponents that don't choose to respect it. That's it for the hand traps. Moving into the spells, we do have triple copies of Hospitality. This is just a great card in the deck, being able to special summon from grave or hand, and then dump corresponding attribute. Again, this is what makes Chamber full combo in herself as well, so we definitely don't mind having multiple copies of this card, since we can use it to extend our inboard, we can use it for recovery plays as the game goes on, whatever we need to do, so triple copies. Then for the other Dragonmaid spell, 1 copy of Changeover. Because this card can recur itself from the graveyard, we never really need more than 1 copy, and it's very easy to get it to the graveyard thanks to a card like Parlor Dragonmaid. So we are good with 1 copy, but definitely we do want it in the deck, so we have that fusion card. Then for the Branded Regained, of course, we're playing the Bystial engine. We're going to have Regained in the deck so that we can reuse our Bystials as much as possible and also build up some additional card advantage whenever something gets banished. Then for a few generic spells, 1 copy of Prosperity. We do want more consistency in the deck. I think Prosperity is a great way to do that by being able to dig 6 cards deeper and grab a starter if we didn't already open with 1. And then 1 Called by the Grave. We don't want to get hit with Ash Blossom on something like our Parlor or our Dragonmaid, our Kitchen Dragonmaid, or Chamber as well. So Called By does help insulate us from that, or it can always stop something like a Fuelos that our opponent's trying to use to get some additional draws off of us. So, versatile card, always like to include it. Then for the last spell, 1 copy of Triple Tactics Talent. Being able to punish your opponent with this card always feels great. And then for the 1-trap, we have 1 copy of Tidying. I have seen people include 2 or sometimes even 3 copies of this card in their deck. Personally, I like to minimize my bricks as much as possible, and while this is a very powerful trap card, it is not a card you want to open going second. You never want to draw a trap card that's not one of the Dominus cards or an Imperm when you're going second. So we don't want multiple copies and increase our odds of drawing this card as essentially a dead card when we're playing second. It's highly searchable, which makes 1 perfectly fine. That wraps up the main deck. It is an even 40 cards. Again, 1 to maximize consistency. Dragonmaid doesn't have the most starters in the deck, and if you're pushing your deck count over 40, you're going to reduce the odds of opening 1 even more. Moving into the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of the brand new Ladies Dragonmaid. Absolutely amazing card. Being able to summon herself by putting back Dragonmaids from your graveyard or banished in order to fulfill that inherent summon condition. And then on summon, she special summons a Dragonmaid monster from your deck. So if you started with Kitchen or Parlor, you can bring out Chamber. If you started with Chamber, you can bring out Kitchen or Parlor. Gives you that additional body on board. And then also where she really shines is her ability that during the standby phase, yours and your opponent's, you can fusion summon a dragon fusion monster by shuffling materials from your graveyard or banished back into the deck. So just by using Kitchen or Parlor or Chamber to go into Lady, it does set up the ability for us to then return those materials back to deck to summon out a shoe, which will get us into a house. So Lady by herself really facilitates the ability for the deck to have a stronger inboard when going first. And there's also several other fusions that you'll see we're playing that we have the flexibility to go into. Speaking of other Dragonmaid fusions, double copies of Shu. Being an Omni-Negate, obviously this card is great, and the fact that it then floats into House for the destruction effect is also very relevant, and this is the card we're typically going into initially off of our Lady's effect. And then 2 copies of House. You've seen I've gone with 2 of each of these. You definitely don't need 3 copies, but you do want to make sure that you have an additional copy in your extra deck in case you lose one, banish face down, whatever the case may be. We want to make sure that we have additional copies to cycle through in that grind game. Then for some other fusions, 1 Philia Regis. This is a versatile card. Having that disruption during your opponent's turn is very powerful, and it's easy enough to make thanks to Ladies Dragonmaid. And then 1 Borreload Furious Dragon. We can make this with our Philia Regis and the one of the Link monsters you'll see here in a moment. And it's just a quick effect. Destruction is always great. Again, it gives us more versatility when conducting our fusions. Maybe catch our opponent off guard if they're expecting us to go into a Dragonmaid card, and we bring out a Furious Dragon instead. Moving into the links, 1 Striker Dragon. This is how we get into our Furious Dragon being a Dark Dragon. We can put back like a Philia Regis and Striker Dragon in order to make that happen. 1 copy of Spirit. So both Striker and Spirit are just options to link our Chamber Dragonmaid off into. And then 1 copy of Seals. If you don't feel like you need Striker and Spirit, I would definitely recommend bumping Seals up to 2 in place of probably Spirit Dragon, because in the grind game, it's always nice to have that second copy to fall back on. And then for the non-dragon links, we do have 1 IP Masquerena and 1 SP Little Knight. Flexibility is always great, being able to set an IP Masquerena up on your inboard sometimes, having SP to go into. Just gives us that versatility. And then we are able to play Chaos Angel because we're playing the Bystials. Any Bystial plus Chamber Dragonmaid makes a Chaos Angel for us, which is nice. And then for the last card, 1 copy of Typhon. You know, I always like to include this card when I can. The amount of times that you will get to a simplified game state and be able to go into Typhon to secure the win is great. This card is a great out to a detonator in those simplified game states, so I like to include it whenever possible. And that wraps up the deck profile. I'd love to hear what y'all think of Dragonmaids now that they have this new support. They're definitely more competitive than they used to be, but do you think that there's something that can go and top or win something like a regional or top a YCS? Let me know in the comments down below, and don't forget to keep an eye out for more upcoming content. We now have Duelist Advanced right around the corner, so I can guarantee you'll be seeing some deck profiles for that coming up very soon. Let me know what you would like to see first. If you want something like Archmage, if you want a Vanquish Soul profile, I promise we have it all coming, but I'd love to know what you want me to prioritize getting out for y'all before Nationals comes up. As always, if you enjoyed the video, please like, subscribe, leave a thumbs up. It really helps to support the channel, and it helps us know that this content is meaningful for you guys. I'm Teague with Battle City Games, and we'll see y'all next time.